benefit of using internal motivation with your autistic child is that it increases their autonomy and independence. And this is a really, really, really good thing. Too many of our children are prompt dependent, or they don't know how to start things without being prompted. And part of that is a negative impact of years of behavioral training. Children have been conditioned to rely on someone else to tell them how to do something or how to start something. So when we use these techniques that facilitate intrinsic motivation, we automatically are helping our child have more autonomy and be more independent. Hello, this is Rebecca Robbins from Mindshaper SLP, where we create fruitful and fulfilling lives for autistic individuals and their families. And I am here to talk to you today about the benefits of intrinsic motivation. So in my previous videos, we talked about the problem with rewards, which is really an extrinsic motivation strategy. You are offering a child or somebody something outside of the activity that they're doing as a means to motivate them to participate. And internal motivation is when you are just lit up by the activity itself and you are really motivated inside of yourself. You have a drive inside of yourself to participate in that activity. Let's just do a little visualization. So close your eyes for a minute and imagine your favorite thing to do. Are you picturing it? I'm picturing mine. It's singing and dancing these days to Taylor Swift. And when you're doing that thing, does anyone have to ask you or beg you to do that thing? No. Do you want to do that thing all day, every day if you could? Yeah. Do you wish that you could figure out a way to make money? Maybe you're lucky enough that you do by doing that thing all day, every day. I bet so. Me too. If I could make money singing and dancing all day, every day, sign me up. Well, what you just experienced in that visualization is internal motivation. And trust me, your autistic child does have internal motivation. It may not be for the things you want them to be internally motivated to do, or the things that you would hope that they would be internally motivated to do, but they have it. And the key is to capitalize on those factors of internal motivation for your child and use them to your advantage to help internally motivate them to do other things. But today, I want to talk to you about what the benefits are of internal motivation. And it's important for us to talk about these benefits because let's face it, it takes a lot more effort and work to figure out how to internally motivate your child to do certain things in their life, like academic assignments, chores, things like that. Or maybe even just engaging and talking can be challenging for your child, and they're not internally motivated to do that just yet. So it takes a fair amount of brainstorming and problem solving. And if you watched my previous video, you saw my top 3 ways of how I like to intrinsically motivate autistic learners. And those are also some of the strategies that you will be learning in my upcoming 3-week live immersive experience called the Motivation Map Live. The details to sign up for that are in the description below this video. So definitely check it out. Everything we talked about in the last video and everything I'm going to be talking about today just scratches the surface of what you're going to learn in that workshop, which is focused on how to really cultivate that inner motivation in your child and also help your child be more independent so that they can grow up and be an independent, happy, and successful adult, because that's what it's all about, right? And that is what you're going to learn about in the Motivation Map Live. But let's just return to the topic for today and talk about why you would even want to focus on internal motivation if it is so much more effort up front. There are some real benefits when you are using internal motivation for anybody, but especially for your autistic child. So we're going to go over those today. Benefit number 1 is that it helps with developing your child's persistence and problem solving. So let me talk to you about why that is a good thing. First of all, when a child is being given external motivation, aka a bribe to motivate their learning, they are performing whatever task or activity that you are giving them the reward for. They are performing that activity as a means to an end to get the reward. We talked about this in my problem with rewards video. If you stopped receiving your paycheck, which your paycheck is an external motivator for you to go to work. If you stopped receiving that paycheck, my guess is you wouldn't continue to show up at work for free and do volunteer work for your boss. No, you would lose your drive and motivation to go to that job and find one that would actually pay you. And it's the same thing with any task that you ask your child to do where you are motivating them with some sort of external reinforcer or reward. They are only performing that task as a means to an end to get the reward. However, if your child is internally motivated to participate in that task, now they are getting the reward inside of themselves just by participating in the task. The task itself is lighting your child up. They are excited to participate in the task. And so what that does, it makes them more likely to persist through challenges or obstacles that might happen when they are in that task. And when they get into an obstacle or a challenge, because they are motivated to complete that task, they are more likely to try problem solving their way through that obstacle or challenge. Whereas if they were just being given an external motivator, they might say, you know what? I don't really want that thing that bad to have to deal with all of this, and give up. Now, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the work of Carol Dweck, but she is a leading researcher on motivation and mindset. And she set out to determine why it is that some students will persist through tasks and why some students will give up. And what she determined was the number one factor that was most likely to determine success for students in academically, in life, and later on in their career is the personality trait of grit. And grit is your ability to persist through challenges. So when a child is internally motivated to participate in an activity, and as such, they are persisting through obstacles or challenges that might occur in that activity, and they're problem solving their way out of obstacles or challenges in that activity, they are working on developing their grit, which is going to only serve them well in life when they encounter an obstacle or a challenge at school, at work, in life, which we all do. We all know that life is filled with obstacles and challenges. So we want our children to be able to persist through challenges and to problem solve and develop that grit. It's a really important factor for their success in life. The other benefit number 2 for internal motivation, is it increases creativity and improves the quality of your child's effort or output for whatever activity or task they're doing. And again, it's because when you offer that reward, the child is basically participating in that task as a means to an end to get to the reward. So they're not really going to put in that extra effort to be creative or to really go above and beyond with the quality of what they're doing. They want to just put in the bare minimum effort so that they can receive the reward. However, when a child is internally motivated, and when I say child, I don't just mean kids. I also mean your older son and daughter too. This is true for all ages. But when they are internally motivated to participate in a task or activity, it automatically increases their creativity, and because their participation in the task itself is intrinsically rewarding, so they want to look at it in new ways and different ways. And they also will put in a higher quality of effort, and you will get a higher quality of outcome from the task or activity because they were internally motivated to participate in that activity. And again, if you're sitting here and thinking to yourself, like, all these reasons are great, I'm on board, Rebecca, but how do I internally motivate my child? Go back to the last video. I'll tag it at the end of this video, so it's an easy find for you. But go back to the top 3 ways that I facilitate intrinsic motivation in autistic learners and watch that video. So in addition to many of the techniques that I talk about in that video that are used to help facilitate intrinsic motivation. When a child is internally motivated, it just encourages them to be more creative and engage in the activity in their own way, which leads me to my next benefit. Benefit number 3 of using internal motivation with your autistic child is that it increases their autonomy and independence. And this is a really, really, really good thing. Too many of our children are prompt dependent, or they don't know how to start things without being prompted. And part of that is a negative impact of years of behavioral training. Children have been conditioned to rely on someone else to tell them how to do something or how to start something. So when we use these techniques that facilitate intrinsic motivation, we automatically are helping our child have more autonomy and be more independent. And let's go back to the example, the visualization we did at the start of this video, where I talked about, does anyone have to pull teeth to get you to participate in that thing that you love to do? No, they don't. So if your child is internally motivated to participate in a task or activity, they will want to independently start that activity or independently participate in that activity because they're motivated to. In addition to being more independent, because the child is intrinsically motivated to participate in that task or activity, many of the strategies used to facilitate intrinsic motivation encourage autonomy. Autonomy is the child having ownership over their choices and the ability to make their own choices for themselves, right? To be in control of themselves. And so often kids, and especially individuals with disabilities or autistic individuals, aren't given the opportunity to have control over themselves, their life, their choices. And we need to do better in that respect. And so when a person has more say over what they do, how they do it, they will be inherently more internally motivated to do it because it's coming from them. So autonomy automatically increases internal motivation. And everyone likes to be in control in their own life. Your child is no different. And the problem with using external rewards is that they kind of stifle autonomy. If you're offering a reward for your child to do something, odds are it's because they're not doing it on their own anyway, right? And so you're motivating them, you're giving them something that they love or like as a reward for doing the thing that they're not really that interested in doing in the first place. And so that in and of itself is basically a means of control. And that is one of the problems with rewards is they are a means of control rather than promoting autonomy in a person. And you cannot have control and autonomy existing together. It just doesn't happen. So the more ways we can find a way to build in autonomy and choices into a child's activity or their day, the more you're going to increase that internal motivation. And the more we increase internal motivation, the more independent your child will be. So it's win-win for everybody. All right, so that is it for today. It's a short and sweet one. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this video. What big takeaway did you have about the benefits of internal motivation? And again, if you're looking for ways to facilitate intrinsic motivation, go watch my previous video on my 3 favorite ways to intrinsically motivate autistic learners. And don't forget to check out the link in the description and join us this June for the Motivation Map Live, where we're going to learn how to stop the drama and reduce anxiety and meltdowns in your autistic child, stop the bribes and encourage internal motivation with your child, and stop the nagging so that we can increase independence and autonomy in your autistic child. It's a 3-week program for parents and professionals or other support adults in your child's life, and it will be live, hosted by me, and I'm super excited for it, and I hope to see you there. That's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you soon.